everybody at the Square. This isn't the typical face you see here, but today we have a very special guest. You already seen it in the title, so it doesn't matter. We're interviewing Andrew Marston today. He's done such a great job bringing the entire community together that I figured we'd turn the camera back on him. So this. Oh, there he is. Dun, dun, dun.
Hey, Bo.
Figure seeing you here.
That was literally the first thing I thought of. I'm like, I need to have like a big entrance.
We got to do another take of that, and you have you holding a cat. Next time, I think.
Circle of Life is playing in the background.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, welcome. So for the people that don't know, if you've been living under a rock or just not on the Square, this is Andrew Marston. He is a creator on our platform and other platforms. We're going to be interviewing him today. So hello and welcome. So we're going to start with. Oh well, no, wait. It's always the thing. Where can people find you?
So probably the best place is Instagram. It's Andrew D. Marston on Instagram. I have a website that's outdated and is linked on Instagram. But Instagram's where I post all my stuff. Yep.
I think that's the continual problem with websites is that they're forever out of date. So Instagram is usually the best place to find all the latest and greatest.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't we start with your origin story? Who is Andrew Marston? Soup to nuts.
Soup to nuts. Condensed version probably is preferable. So let's see here. I'm a motion designer now, and I was born in the northeast of the United States in a state called Maine, and I grew up there, and then went to school in Indiana at a university called Taylor University, where I studied graphic design and photography. And then after that, I decided to take an adventure right after graduation, and I moved to Japan, and I taught English for 2 years, which is probably the easiest way to move to Japan if you're a native or near native English speaker without any professional experience. And met my wife in Japan. She's not Japanese. She's from the US as well. She was teaching English. I was teaching English. And then we moved back after 2 years from Japan to my home state in Maine, where I was a in-house graphic designer for a civil engineering firm. And at that time, my wife was going to grad school. And then after that, so it was 2 years Japan, 2 years Maine, and then the next 2 years was in Singapore, which we moved to because my wife got a job at an international school. And I was an in-house graphic designer for the marketing department of that international school. 2 years later, we moved back to Japan. And long story short, I became a videographer at a website called japanguide.com, which had no video department and no YouTube channel. That brings us to 2020-ish, the start of 2020, and we moved to Arizona, where my parents live. And now we're closer with them, and I work from home as sort of a motion design mercenary, more or less.
Gun for hire.
Yeah. That's the term I was looking for.
So you've been freelancing since your return to the US?
More or less. I read the freelance manifesto. I read half of the freelance manifesto. And I realized that I kind of skipped the step, like right at the beginning. Joey Cornman says, like, this book assumes that you have the skills, and this is going to help you get connected to make money off those skills, essentially. And I kind of just took it for granted that, I've been doing video. Like, I did some After Effects at my old job, and then I started looking at other motion designers like Reels and their work and like motion design studios, and I realized, like, I have no idea how they did this. And so I took some time to develop, and then from like April or May, I started doing freelance, like actually making money off of it, of 2020.
That's awesome. Okay, so I have a couple of questions, as probably many do. What's it like teaching English
Oh, good
in
question.
Japan?
It's really really easy. There's a lot of free time, at least my experience, because I taught in the Japanese public schools. There's also the private conversation classes called Eikaiwa, which is much different, much more demanding and lower pay. But teaching in the public schools in Japan, teaching English is like the easiest, best job ever. You just speak your native language, often just read the textbook. You don't have a lot of prep to do. Like I did a lot of prep just because I had nothing else to do and I wanted it to be a good class. But you're essentially a cultural ambassador.
Mhm.
And like during recess, you go play with the kids and they just want to like hang out with you. And it's in such a homogenous culture as Japan, especially in rural areas. Like the metro urban areas have a lot of diversity, but when you venture out of the cities, there's not a lot of non-Japanese citizens or
Right.
native-born Japanese there. So in a good way, you're kind of an oddity, you know,
Yeah.
and it's a good opportunity. It's a great cultural experience.
Yeah. Did you end up learning the language, or did you get by with English while you were there?
So yeah, I guess I never learned. The short answer is yes, and the long answer is probably never.
Right.
Like, can can you ever fully learn a language of a culture that you didn't grow up in? You can get really proficient. Like for example, like my wife went through the whole pregnancy and birth process at a Japanese hospital, all in Japanese. We did that, so that's about the probably the peak of our level. But like I don't think I've ever had a conversation in Japanese that didn't have moments of like, what am I trying to say? They don't understand me, that sort of thing.
Gotcha. Yeah, a little like the like lots of this and over
Yeah.
there, and yeah,
Describing instead of
pointing.
just saying like let's go to the car, I'll say like hey, let's go to the vehicle that's parked in front of the house on that strip that's like a road, but it's short, you know, let's
Yeah,
go
yeah,
there. that's
that's
that's kind
cool.
of what the experience would be like talking to me in Japanese.
Did you find it? Did you find it isolating?
In the I was in a city called Kita Kyushu, which is in the northern tip of the southern main island, and there is an international community, but not nearly as much as like Tokyo or Osaka or places like that. And so yeah, in the rural industrial blue collar section of the city that I was an ALT, an assistant language teacher in, there weren't that many other people who spoke English fluently, and there would go, you know, days, weeks where I just wouldn't speak my native language outside of the classroom, essentially. Um, and yeah, it was definitely really tough, especially the first year. After the first year, I met my wife, and things got way better. Um, but yeah, especially if you're not expecting it, if you're expecting like a really international scene, and then you go to rural Japan, like it's going to
Yeah,
be really isolating unless you take the initiative to engage the culture.
totally. So you moved back, and then you went to the U.S. for a sec for a while, and then you came back, right? And so
Yep.
now, so you've done your time over in the U.S. for a second. Then you come back to was it Japan or Singapore?
We went to Singapore directly from the US. Yeah, we spent
Right.
2 years there. In Singapore, I was basically hired with my wife was hired as a middle school science teacher for an international school. And I was hired as their in house graphic designer for the marketing department. And I mean, that was
Cool.
just your standard like brochures, financial campaigns, and event posters and that sort of thing. So
Okay.
that
And
whole
then,
time in Singapore,
all
we
right.
actually were hoping to move back to Japan because we liked it so much. So we moved to Singapore as part of this network of international schools. And after 2 years, we transferred. There was an opening at the Japan school. And that's how we ended up getting visas to move to Japan
Right.
the second time. I mean,
Cool.
the nitty gritty is kind of technical and boring, but
Yeah,
visas
that's
are
cool.
important. Anybody who wants to move abroad, check on visas. Make sure you get
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, I went through my own personal hell of that.
Yeah, as you know.
Yeah. So in Singapore, you were doing like traditional graphic design mostly,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, to be honest, I am not a good graphic designer, and I'm not really that passionate about it,
Yeah.
but like I like Adobe software, and I feel like I'm at least proficient at the softwares. And so yeah, that was my training, and that was the really only marketable skills I could offer.
Okay, so then you spent your time there. You got your visa. You moved to Japan,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
so what'd you do there?
Yeah, so we moved to a city called Nagoya, Japan, which is like right in the dead center of the country. She was teaching science as their as a high school science teacher, and I on purpose didn't get a job because I was really trying to figure out what I wanted to do because I'd kind of burned out doing corporate marketing, graphic design, and so we did some thinking. And my thought was like, I really want to make videos, and I want to share them on the internet, and I want them to be helpful to people. And those three things actually have stayed true throughout. And then the fourth piece was, what are they about? And I really like Japan, especially Japan travel, and its history, its culture, and also the idea of sort of introducing people to more than just Tokyo, that there's much more you can do and experience. So my thought was, I need to create a portfolio of informative Japan travel videos, which is very specific. And I would love to get a job at a website like japanguide.com, which at the time, like I had never been in contact with them. But I just thought a site like this, whose focus is on valuable information for the consumer that's actually helpful, that's the sort of website that I would like to make videos for. So I'm going to make videos, a video portfolio, and hopefully some website like this will hire me. And so I just on my own dime made let's see here. Can you screen share me?
Yeah,
I'll
sure.
show you. It's kind of embarrassing, but
It's great.
what from our past isn't like a little bit cringy?
Oh, if you're not cringing 100% of the time, like you're not improving. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
So I made this YouTube channel with, it says seasons 1 through 4 are now available, which, so my intention wasn't for this channel to last forever. It was basically to be a home for meditation playlist. Great. It was to be a home for, if you guys need meditation playlists, I got you covered. To be a home for some videos that I made and organized and branded to show people that, hey, hire me and I can do a good job.
Totally. Yeah.
And so this is an example. This is from, oh yeah, here's me in 2014 or 15.
Nice.
I look exactly the same, right? I don't look
yeah.
a day older. So real simple stuff. I think I really only knew like how to use transform properties and like some basic illustration stuff.
Yeah.
So, oh man, it's so cringy.
It's not cringy, dude.
These sorts of things. And at the same time, this is around the time that Devin Supertramp is it's a weird name in my opinion, but he's a YouTuber who makes like really well shot and edited videos like Assassin's Creed in real life, but he also does some travel videos with really creative time lapses and camera work. So around that time, I was watching his videos, really inspired, and I thought I need to make something that has motion graphics to inform people and then shows them what the place is like in a captivating way. So I tried to use time lapses, and I got like a glide cam, and I go to all these tourist locations with this huge backpack and like tried to stay out of people's way, but like I just looked like a total weirdo. No press pass, just like shooting the lights out of these high tourist areas, and put it together. And eventually I did end up getting hired by japanguide.com. It just
nice.
Which was crazy because I had never contacted them when I thought of I need to make videos that would hopefully get me hired by someplace like this site. And I ended up basically making their YouTube channel, which is this.
Cool.
So we started at 0 subscribers, and when I left, we had 120,000 subscribers, which was great. They've gone on, but yeah, like we started with this top 5 video series, which combines very simple motion graphics with some basic cinematography and like eating food and that sort of thing. Places like this. So it was great. Like for my job when I was hired by them, I got to travel a lot around Japan and film like the most coolest places.
So you've seen a lot of Japan, you would say. You've documented it.
I think I compared to most, yes. So out of the 47 prefectures, I've seen 44 44, 43, 44.
Wow.
So
Have you
not
been
all of
to
them.
have you been to the place that has the like crazy amount of deers?
Yeah, there's a
What
couple. Yeah,
oh, okay, so there's a couple.
there's a place called Nara
Okay.
with which has a lot of deer, and then there's also an island called Miyajima um, that is
Very
off
cool.
of the coast of Hiroshima, as we
Wow.
say.
Have you been to Hiroshima?
Yeah, yeah, many times. And
Oh, wow.
I would say Hiroshima is probably one of my favorite cities, up there with Sapporo is awesome as well.
Very cool. All right, so let's jump forward to your your motion design. Why don't you pick one and we can walk through the what are we thinking? I like
So
your let's do the cube.
yeah, I'm gonna do this one. These are the same, but this one has like a tail end at the end. So yeah,
5,000 views. Beautiful.
yeah. So this was when was this?
Wow.
8 weeks ago. Yeah.
Time flies.
Yeah,
Much like
doesn't it?
that. Why don't you walk through what's the inspiration for this, or what's
Oh,
the what
easy.
we what you've always got something you want to try out.
I think I've shared this with you outside of this recording. Yeah, this stuff right here. Let me skip ahead. Stuff like this is just, man, it's beautiful. It's technically very delicious to think about how could I pull this off. And yeah, there's something about the structure, the math, the art. It really comes together. So
I feel like sometimes, especially like ordinary folk and like these like really high pillars, it's like the obelisk from 2001 just being dropped on Earth, and then we're all the monkeys, and we're like, ah, you know, pick up the stick, and we're like, yeah, see, and we try. Not to say that's what you've done; you've gone much higher, but it's just like these amazing pieces drop on us, and we're like, how, you know?
Yeah, no, that's literally the stuff I think. That's how I think. That's. Yeah. Can you tell I'm nervous? I'm never nervous before I interview people, but when it's me, I'm like,
you're on the spot.
Yeah, no, ordinary folk, giant ant. I mean, all the classics that lead our industry. Totally. I watch their stuff and I just think. Then I look at my Instagram and I'm like, oh, I need to delete all that. It's embarrassing. These people will never want to work with me. Yeah, so I guess word to the wise: don't watch really good work if you're feeling insecure or something.
Okay, so you see this piece, you see this obelisk drop down.
Yeah,
you are the we're going with this metaphor.
Yeah.
You are the monkey. What's your process, right? Like, do you kind of look at that? Because I look at that and I think like, hey, yeah, I'm the monkey that's just chilling. You're the one that picked up the bones. So tell me how you got from here to your piece.
This specific piece, I said piece like it's some big important work of art. It's not. This little video that I made and posted on the internet. So stuff this right here was born from this specific frame or this section of this video. You can kind of see similarities, but basically when I looked at this, I was trying to break down how you'd do it. And so essentially I made a circle on a shape layer, and then I had two nulls, one here and one here. I'm talking like I made this. I did recreate this. I never posted it, but I did recreate this frame just for practice. Made a circle, made two nulls, and then I used create paths on different layers to basically make triangles, or wait, no, quadrilaterals. That's the word.
Of course.
Make quadrilaterals to connect the points of each four-sided shape to the null, and then 2 points of the circle, and then the other null, and then use a slider to control where these like wings, for better terms, these wings were connected on the circle, what point on that path. So that's how I approached that. And then once I made this just for practice, like if I make something and it's a direct copy, I'm not going to post it. I'm just going to learn from it. And then from that, I modified it where I made a circle. I have two nulls right here, and I'm making triangles that then I just sort of control where the point on the circle is of the wings, and make them flop to the side.
Very cool.
It's the same thing with this. It's just a path that then we have a bunch of create paths electing where on this main snaky path we're going to draw lines. If anybody wants more information on like how this sort of thing is made, go to Euchromedia and find the make a wavy path with expressions in After Effects, and it'll go over create path and for loops and using sliders to find points on other paths and 2comp and show you how I made it. Funny thing is I'd been making expression tutorials with Euchromedia since earlier this year, and I kind of felt like a hack, and I was a hack. I still am a hack. But I just share, like to anybody else who feels like imposter syndrome or like they're a hack or they're just faking it. We all are. And if you know something, even if it's not like the most efficient way, somebody else probably doesn't know that because you had to learn it at some point. And so just share it. Like, totally. And also admit it. If somebody calls you out and they're like, there's a better way to do this, you just say, thank you. That's great information. Don't be embarrassed by what you don't know.
Yeah. I think Ryan Summers has hit on that a handful of times too, that you can share your knowledge no matter where you are in your career path, because you know something more than somebody else, right?
Yeah,
so you can, it's not all about reaching down from on high. It's like someone else is like just on the next stair down. It's like, yeah, come on, let's go,
Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah. And I feel like, there are very few points that I wanted to bring up specifically in this interview. I did almost no preparation, but I did want to share like a system that has been working for me for self-improvement. So it's just 3 words. It's chase, pace, and pull. And I think I've talked about this maybe with you or on the square. And essentially you find somebody or some people to chase, people who know more than you and are sharing. So now you have something to try to strive for. And then you find people to grow with and work alongside, like your course mates at School of Motion or just other people posting on Instagram or your friends, your coworkers. So you try to pace with them. You have somebody to keep up with. And then the pull part is actually, I find, the most beneficial. You share what you know with people who don't know it. And that reinforces what you know. And it also kind of creates this nice feedback loop of, that gratitude you felt when somebody shared with you, you could extend, and then they probably will share it, and it kind of keeps the system going. And like the people that you chase, pace, and pull, sometimes they're all the same, and it's a system that's proven really effective, at least for me.
Well, and I think too that sort of that methodology is infectious, and I know that for a fact because, like, I've taken that on as well. And it's like, you just share what you know and you be super open and you give everything you have, right? Like,
yeah,
we all, what was it? We all rise together, all boats, something.
All roads lead to Rome. I think it's all roads lead to Rome.
Okay.
Yeah. Diversity is an old wooden ship.
Yeah.
I think that's the analogy you're looking for. But it feels good too. Like, honestly,
totally.
So I used this analogy before, but in sports, I get so much more of a fulfilling feeling from being the guy who gives the assist than the guy scoring the goal. Because like the team still scores, we get the points, but it's just awesome to see that you helped somebody else get what they wanted. I don't know, like it's the whole, like you were saying, when you help somebody else, it feels good.
Totally. Well, and it's obviously evident in everything that you do, and you put all this in. The reason why we had to, turn the camera back on you to get you here.
Yeah, well, in all transparency, this interview series was simply me trying to find an excuse to, like, give people I wanted to talk to a reason to talk to me. And as an extra benefit, everybody gets to partake. I guess it was a twofold thing, but it wasn't just all this, selfless desire to share.
Totally.
It was really
it's the chase,
desire.
Right? You're
yeah,
chasing,
exactly.
You're chasing and pacing and pulling all at the same time.
Exactly. There's so many people that I've got to talk to through this interview series whose work I admire, and I had a lot of questions and I wanted to learn from them. And so using the bait of like, hey, let's have an interview, I'm just like, perfect. I get to ask you all my questions.
It's like, surprise. It's my trap card. Yeah. Okay. So this is the thing that you've done, but with others. So I'm just going to try and follow the same format. But okay, so what is? Do you want to start with a high point or a low point? What do you feel?
Low. Let's get the
Low.
low out of the
Okay,
way.
let's start in the dirt. Where?
Oh yeah.
No. Okay, and I thought another way of framing it too is to say like, what was a hard lesson to learn, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we could fill days worth of interview footage with me just recounting all the mistakes and everything. There have been some low points for sure. So I guess the one that sticks out just because it was so scarring for me at a young age was when I was 19 or 20. I decided I wanted to be a photographer, and so the summer of after my second year of university, I wrote all these letters, like paper letters that were like probably 500 words long, way too long. And I sent them to all the local photographers, the commercial, like the professional photographers with studios in the Portland, Maine area. And for some reason, probably because I was only charging $100 a day, a lot of them invited me to come and be their assistant for, I mean, I say that in quotes, I was their assistant, carry their gear, strike the set. And so this one photographer, he basically hired me to just, silhouette with the pen tool in Photoshop these pictures of jewelry. I don't know if it was just because like I had the muscle memory from using my own keyboard shortcuts, but at the time I was on Mac and I did, I was just so tired of putting things in the trash can on my own and then having to empty the trash can that I had the keyboard shortcut of, I think at that time it was like Apple delete and then Shift Apple delete, would put it in the trash can and then empty the recycle bin and then empty the recycle bin. So it's just gone. And I did that on one of his files, Command delete, Shift Command delete, just wiped it off of his system. And then he was like, oh, wait, no, actually, I really need that. And I was like, oh, I just deleted it. And he's like, oh, well, it's in the recycle bin. I'm like, no, I emptied the recycle bin. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? And it totally justified anger. And so I think he just said like, thanks. You can you can head home early. He paid me my $100 for the day, and he never called me again. It was just like that worst moment, that knot in the pit of your stomach.
Yeah.
And so now I usually. Yeah. I don't know what lesson you can take away from that. Just be careful.
Yeah. Okay. So that was your low point, which I think, like,
Oh, there are others, but I just don't want to
others.
Share them on like a public forum.
That's fair.
I mean, I think I've talked with you. I try not to be like one of my other policies is like, just don't complain publicly about anything if you can. Totally. It just, there's nothing productive. You can be constructive. You can say, if something tough needs to be said, then you can say the truth with compassion, but just being negative publicly, sometimes it's healthy privately. Find those people like sometimes I complain to you about stuff.
Got to find an outlet, but outlet doesn't have to be to the world.
Right. It just, even if it makes you feel better, it actually will probably make somebody's day worse. Even if you have a good point, if you're being negative, my philosophy is, if I'm being negative, I could have found a positive way to say that was just as effective, but it didn't bring anybody down. And like, negativity breeds negativity. Somebody hears somebody else complaining and they say, yeah, and everybody gets their pitchforks. When in fact, we could all just agree like, yeah, this could be improved. Let's figure out how to constructively improve it, or like if that's even feasible. I guess I'm thinking specifically of maybe best not to think of use examples, but anyway.
Well, good thing this all gets edited anyway. So.
Yeah. The final interview is going to be like 2 minutes long, and I'm like, doing great, guys.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move to your what's your highlight? What's the soaring peak?
Probably. The one that comes to mind was when I first met the owner of JapanGuide.com. So I had been, since 2013, 14 until the end of 2015, I'd been making these videos, these portfolio videos of travel Japan content, not really knowing if it would pan out. And finally, we got in contact, and he happened to be in Hiroshima. the same time that I was filming Fall Foliage in Hiroshima in 2015. And so we got together for dinner, and it went amazing. And I just remember thinking, like, just feeling on top of the world after that, when like the meeting was over, the dinner was over, and I just, I felt like all my dreams were coming through. The thing I had been investing years into seemed like now there was a clear path with high probability that it would turn into the opportunity I wanted.
That's amazing. Yeah. I kind of like when you were telling that story too, is like you had this dream, you set out, you grind hard, and you got there, right?
It's a pretty constant theme with me. I've noticed is that, like, I don't always know exactly where things are leading, but I know that the process of getting there, all those skills that you'll pick up, and even doing the interview series with the Square community members, not really sure what the end game is there, just the process of it. I'm sure I'm picking up skills that will pay off. And the same with those Japan videos that I made for the Happy in Japan channel that eventually got me the job at Japan Guide, was the skills I learned creating these videos myself. Even if they didn't turn into the job that I had aimed at, they're still valuable to have.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking about goals, then what's next for you? What's your kind of, if you want to share, what is your ambition?
Well, I had talked to Bo Ryan in real time as like the peak. So I'm kind of lost right now, actually. Aimless.
So you currently, what you're saying is that your peak was, or like you mentioned that Japan story, but really it's right now.
Yeah.
Naturally. Yeah. That's cool.
I was thinking about that. I'm not really sure. My goal right now is to use After Effects as much as possible and to help as many people as possible have the careers they want in motion design, within my ability. And I'm not really sure where all that's leading, but to be honest, if it doesn't lead anywhere and I just stay doing this for a long time, that's great too.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're freelancing right now. You're doing kind of day rates, but then you're also doing all the investment in yourself with your courses and whatnot. So yeah, that's a pretty nice spot to be in, right?
We live pretty simply, and we're not really extravagant people, and so freelancing at the rates mentioned in the Freelance Manifesto. The rate in the Freelance Manifesto is $500 a day is sort of what's mentioned. And that's way more than we need to, not go into debt. And so right now, while I'm still at the beginning of my motion design career, instead of just working as much as possible, I'm trying to get ahead a little bit in the budget and then take time to develop, so that eventually, if I do like land somewhere permanent, then there's a higher probability that I have the skills for it to be the place I want it to be.
Well, I think there's something to be said too, and we've talked about this like off here, but there's something to be said for having that freedom to only work as much as you need and not burn yourself out, so that you can improve, right? Because there's that feedback cycle where you take that, you do the work, you grind for like a couple months, you earn enough to take a course. And then you take the course and you can up your rate so that when you're working, right? Whereas like if you're freelancing and you're doing the day rate thing, like you might be learning, but like you might not be making those giant leaps and bounds as you would as if you take that concentrated time and invest in yourself, right? So
yeah, the thing I learned most while freelancing is really how to work with a team and pass off files that are going to be easily understood, which at first I was not that good at. I was pretty bad at, and a lot of people suffered because I would make these complicated expression rigs with all these sliders, and like the layer name had to be a certain thing. And like, that's cool that I knew how to do that, but like it actually cost probably more than it was worth in the time that it took to get everyone up to speed on like what I was doing. Like, not that I'm at some super high level. I think that on their own they could do that also. But when you all come together, you kind of need to speak like a simpler common language so that the files don't become impossible to pass off to other people. I'm not saying like it has to be that way. Like if everybody's on board and up to speed, or you're just doing a solo project, like go bonkers, make that cool expression rig. But that was probably the biggest lesson I learned when I started freelancing for a creative agency with a lot of a wide variety of projects. We don't always need you to prove that you are the most clever person here, because you're not, and it's costing us time, that sort of thing.
Yeah, the way I've been told to work is act like at any point you're going to be asked to hit save, collect, and upload somewhere, because you might get pulled on something else. So you can't name things later. Sorry, you can't name things later, and all that kind of. I'll clean up my files later and all that kind of stuff. No, work, name things as you make them. And so that someone could pick up right from where you left off. And yeah, of course, no, not that I'm doing that stuff anyway. That's a you problem. You need to dumb down your files for motion designers like myself.
Well, no, I'm not saying that. Like, maybe it sounded the wrong way, but like, I don't think that the people I'm fully confident that the people that I freelance with are as capable or more capable than I am, and that I was not doing things they didn't know how to make it work. It just takes a while to look at somebody's complicated file and figure out, like, okay, I get it, but why did that need to take me 10 minutes to figure out? Like, that was unnecessary. That was my point.
So we're going to land the plane. This is the 5th take. No.
Yeah, here we go, Ryan. You can do it. You can do it this time.
Okay, we're going to land the plane. Andrew Marston, it's been such a pleasure talking with you. In a recorded fashion. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram. It's beau.w.ryan is the handle that you're going to want on Instagram.
Oh, very good. Very good.
Yep.
Yeah. That's an odd spelling for Andrew.
That's okay.
We'll take it to you. Yeah. No, that's great. Having such a great time talking with you, man. And I'm sure everyone here is just super stoked to hear what you had to say, and your little knowledge bombs, and we'll keep seeing your face. And I'm sorry that I was the one that had to do this. Everyone had to hear me talk to you, but here we are.
No, it's a pleasure.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna hit stop recording.